Howdy, it's Tanya, aka VY Canis Melodis. Now, when I was just a little pup, I played a lot of racing games. Gran Turismo, Ridge Racer, you know the ones. But the first rally game I played, truly, was Richard Burns Rally for the PlayStation 2. And I played the heck out of it. Rally is, when done right, an experience in the sublime, something you lose yourself in, an art form, a way to transcend this mortal coil and reach into the world as will, letting go of your desires for just a few minutes, like an ascetic's true goal. That is until you slam into a tree at 100 miles per hour and crash or fall off a cliff. It's just you, the road, and some guy screaming in your ear about a corner you shouldn't be cutting, but will do anyway. But playing RBR first was like a curse, because I never considered another rally game for years. I tried them, but they were just not good enough. Not until Dirt Rally came out. I just kept on playing RBR. Nothing looked like it had that spark. Every rally game paled in comparison, looking like it had road too wide and smooth-itis. Cars that just sort of looked like hovercrafts not connected to the dirt and lacking in variety. I never even gave them a chance. But now I can, and maybe I'll find something fun. So I thought I'd go through and make some pieces on some rally games, without any nostalgia goggles, just pure rally, starting with the origin of perhaps the most highly regarded rally series out there, Colin McRae's Rally the First. The menus are dark, with rusty and dirty metal, with 7-segment displays and industrial sounds, giving it a cold and intense vibe. I shall skip the rally school, because I am a genius already. I shall call myself Peebo. I shall pick the Suud because it is lesbian, and off we go to New Zealand. And we see a nice little setup and repair screen, made up of those 7-segment displays. What a great little aesthetic already. You can repair the bits that fall off, make changes to the setup, and view what the stages might be like ahead of time, so you can plan what tyres and such to bring. Right, we'll be on our way then. Goodbye, mechanics. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Okay, off we go, and it's a 6 right. I remember, in Dirt Rally, 6 was a flat right. So I can take this one easy, flat out, and... Oh no, that's a tree! Okay, it's, reversed. The other way round, I see. 6 is a sharp corner. That's fine, I'll just have to get used to that. At least you do have to brake, which was one of my fears and worries coming in. I thought since the roads were wide, all of the stages would be easy flat. But they are actually very complex. Colin's mantra, if in doubt, flat out, may not actually apply. I shall have to employ what some call skill. Something I do not have, but must borrow from the stars. I will be right back. So, now that I can play the game, I can say that it gives off that serious vibe, but not an obscure one. It's accessible to beginners, but not mind-numbingly easy to those that know what they're doing. You can tweak the setup, but the game tells you what options do. You can pick the front-wheel drive kit cars, which are slower on novice mode, and the game has damage but is generous with it. And then, getting in the stage, they look nice for a PS1 game. I like to think of a rally stage in 2 parts. There is the road you drive on, and then there is the road you drive through. The former is the actual road, how challenging it is, the flow of the corners, the bumps, the shape of the map. The latter is the landscape, the story you drive through, its background, why the road is shaped the way it is, the historical landmarks and towns, the occasional vista points you can't stop to look at, but want to steal a glance toward when the next corner is more than 50 meters away, the local flora and perhaps fauna, the variety in landscape, biome and surface on the road you're traveling on, the spectators sitting on the side of the road or standing in a place where you could easily go off course and run them over. The key to a good rally stage is both of these. Now, of course, the PS1 probably couldn't handle a huge vista, and the game has a low render distance, but a game does well to convey a sense of grandeur to stages even so. The track surface and local landscape types do change as the stage goes on, and while they aren't as varied as newer games such as RBR, it's commendable what they achieved to make the stages memorable. The game doesn't hide and obscure itself through technicalities. It is a giddy, possibly slightly neurodivergent child wanting to tell you about how cool Rally is, while having a really extensive knowledge on the subject, and you can't help but love it too. The reason Colin McRae's Rally became such a well-known and successful series because it's just pure fun to drive. It's not a difficult game to get into, and the physics are simple but effective. It's arcadey, but not in the way that cars have loads of grip. You still have to brake for corners, but it is predictable. You know how the car will react in every scenario if you've got the skill, and the bumps aren't too much of an issue because the car sort of rides over the polygons. You really can drive the car very hard, absolutely fling it into corners, and it will slide in a nice kind of parabola, which is very fun to do. When you get it right, you truly feel like a great rally driver. Some of the cars are slower, some are faster, but they all feel good to drive. The front-wheel drive cars don't feel particularly different to the all-wheel drive cars, but they are locked in most modes if you don't pick the novice difficulty. Mostly they're just slower versions of the all-wheel drive cars. It's a similar story with the rear-wheel drive cars that mostly just feel like slightly less grippy and less stable all-wheel drive cars. They'll sort of stick into a drift for longer. But for a PS1 game, again, it's impressive. Picking the Audi Quattro Group B truly turns the game into hard, super intense mode, and I love it. You can start off with the rally school, in which a Scottish man tells you in a slightly bored voice what to do. I wonder who he might be. The rally school is, I'm sure, useful for someone who isn't already great at racing games. Aside from the night stage and expert, it was pretty easy to get a good grade. The night stages are naturally hard because you can't really see where you're going, but who needs school when you can just go straight into the championship? There are 8 rally locations with 6 stages in each, plus a few extra super special stages. And in contrast to the modern games, they aren't just 2 stages with shorter and reverse layouts, or anything like that. First up, we head to New Zealand. With its wide roads, high speeds and shallow curves, is definitely more suitable for beginners, which is good, because it's at the beginning. I really do like how the game has a bit of a difficulty curve with the stages. They're not easy by any means, these ones, but they are more forgiving than the later countries. Some highlights from these stages include going into the quarry and going through the farm gates with some devious chicanes over bridges. Next up is Greece. Definitely a step up in terms of difficulty. It's narrower and tighter with a more drastic elevation change. The corners are sharp and they come at you thick and fast. You're racing on mountains instead of rolling hills, with the walls right on the edge of the stage instead of a large, cushy gravel chap. Some courses go from travelling at full speed with near flat curves coming one after another to tight, twisty switchbacks. They also vary in grip constantly with changes from dust to tarmac in the middle of a corner. There's also a mountain that if you have trypophobia you might find uncomfortable, but it's worth it to blast past a smaller, worse Parthenon. Monte Carlo is next, with half snow, half tarmac stages that will make you ponder tyre choice even more. If you pick tarmac tyres you'll be fast there, but quickly find a tree once the snow comes, and if you pick gravel or snow tyres you'll be slower there, but actually be able to run in the snow and ice. The elevation change is even more extreme. Personally I like to drive with bonnet cam because it looks downwards more and you get to feel the directionality of the car. The highlights of this one include going through a narrow town a few times and the sheer cliff drops. Australia's after that, and with tricky loose gravel and very fast, bumpy roads with lots of jumps and narrow gates and fords to cross. For some reason the default setup it gives you is stiff with low top speed, and you don't want that because these stages are wobbly and jumpy and very, very fast. But you do have to be precise, or you'll be the sandwich part of a car and tree sandwich. Or upside down. Sweden is fully snow and comes with the difficulties associated with that, meaning the grip is low, the visibility is poor, and the snowbanks are deadly. Some of the stages are surprisingly twisty though. The night stage number 4 is also very, very difficult. You'll be driving through a forest and over an icy lake in this environment, all while the snowbanks either side slow you down or put you into a spin. Something that hasn't changed in Dirt Rally. Corsica is fully tarmac, but very tight, not too difficult in my opinion, but quite the test of your skill at going fast with a lot of grip. You'll likely always overestimate quite how much you really have, and end up hauling yourself into a tree, off a cliff, or into a river because of the massive elevation changes from tight country lanes with trees and rocks everywhere crossing over rivers and past castles to tiny cliff roads overlooking certain doom. Indonesia is my favourite, as you'll be racing through dense forests on bumpy roads, onto beaches with hugely sowing sand, and through rice fields all with tough camber to deal with. Some parts of the road are cambered down the middle, so you end up straddling it. With incredible views, opportunities to trample the local farms, and beaches you can take a break to tan at, Indonesia is a great location. We finish off with the United Kingdom, the hardest rally of all, with very tight stages, snow, mud, rain and obstacles. They're also the longest stages, winding through the English countryside where the surface may change grip levels and terrain types unpredictably, with odd sections entering tight tarmac car parks, crossing over fords and into rivers at points, and travelling past old manors and farms. It's quite the challenge for sure. There's also a decent few super special stages where you duel someone on a closed course, and it's a lot of fun. There's a decent few cars too. The classic Impreza of course, plus an Evo, Escort and Corolla make up the normal class. Then the Kit Clark class has your classic hatchback front wheel drive, slightly slower cars. And then there's a special class for historic cars, which you can unlock by doing the super special stages. There's an older Escort, the Lancia Delta, the RS200 and the Quattro, making for a small but varied car list. And it's not like they all handle the same either, so you'll have a good time with them. For a PlayStation 1 game, I was impressed by the sound design and quality. You've got the engine noise with plenty of backfiring sounds making a great experience, the sound of the ground underneath you changing alongside grip levels, which does help with immersion, and then of course you have the co-driver's calls and crashing noises. All of this makes it surprisingly immersive. When it comes to music, there is only the one song, but it certainly does give off that grungy, intense vibe that we get from the menu, with steady breakbeats, a periodic hit of distorted guitars, and a lot of acid basses, all without any movement in the chord progression, which gives it this colder industrial feeling. So really, what we have is an incredibly solid game. We knew Codemasters could code. They'd done plenty of great racing games before this one, and the one they released just before even was the excellent Taka Touring Car Championship. But they absolutely knocked this one out of the park. I wonder then what Nilok Irkum Yaller 2 will be like. Will it be the same game but more? Will the stages from the first game be repeated? Who knows?